that represent the advertiser, right? So we are campaign managers for this advertiser. And the advertiser is like, I'm Starbucks. I'm trying to open a new location in, I don't know, give me a city here. I don't know, Raleigh, North Carolina. And I want to target everybody that is working from home to let them know like, hey, a new location to come and work from. Okay. So now we understand our campaign needs. So the only way we can buy media and update and really create our campaign is to do it via a DSP, okay? So the DSP is going to be a different shape here. Let's make the DSP a triangle. So in order for me to, there you go, boom. In order for me to place based on what Starbucks wants, I need to access the demand side platform, which is a DSP. In our cases, let's just call it Choozle because y'all exercise is going to be in Choozle anyway. But today we're going to look at what's the other one? The traders, which on Choozle. So Kaylee or Miranda is going to be like, all right, bet Starbucks. We know what to do. You're going to log into the DSP, and then you're going to put all of your information, right? Like all the Starbucks information. And then you're going to deploy your campaign. Remember, you're going to put a budget and then you're going to press start. But when you want to visualize it in real time, this is what it looks like, okay? So you have a brand advertiser. The brand advertiser is trying to place its ad all the way. Look, we're going to be really creative with this, okay? So this is the ad that we're trying to place. And then the ad is saying new opening Starbucks. Okay, this is my ad. But before it gets to new opening Starbucks, I need to make sure that we select the right partners. But luckily, my DSP is going to do it for me. But a DSP like Choozle, okay, only allows you to access that inventory. Now, the other side of things is that right before, let me put it right here, you'll get an SSP, right? The SSP is basically what the publisher needs to sell their inventory, okay? So an SSP can be, Google is an SSP, but we're going to try something else. Let's do live intent. They're a specific SSP, okay? So we want to make sure we place the new opening Starbucks ad on via live intent inventory. But before this DSP talks to live intent, there are several things that happen. And so this represents the bridge that we were talking about, which is the ad exchanges or the supply vendors. Actually, the supply vendors here. So in order for it to be from here to here, there are situations where we can use an ad server, and it's going to make sense. Okay, bear with me here. It's going to make a lot of sense. By
the way, I can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Trying to be creative with this. Okay, this actually gonna have to move a little bit closer. All right. This is where your ad server is. Okay. So your ad server is, I call it the warehouse, is this platform you can log into, one that's very, very popular these days, CM360, which also stands for Campaign Manager 360. So as campaign managers, as traders, we would log into CM360, upload the creative. We would also use CM360 for any tracking. So in order for me to see my performance on my website, I need to track how, all of my ads are performing. That means that when they see the ad, they click through the ad, we're able to tell like, oh, X amount of people click through our display ads. X amount of people view the ad, but did not click through, but afterwards look up our stuff. X amount of people click through the ad, visited X amount of pages on the website, things like that, right? So an ad server can allow for both. It's really a tracking warehouse. It allows you to do measurement. And because you're able to track online activities outside of your direct ad, you're able to also report on them. So that's why when you say reporting, It's just because we're able to track from the beginning. So if we don't have pixels, okay, I'm sorry, I'm using another term here, but if you don't have tracking pixel, which is a code we implement on a website, you won't be able to track your performance. Okay. So the ad server on the buy side represent that tracking warehouse. Same thing for the sell side. Okay. So the sell side, which is my ad exchange right here, my supply vendor, same thing with the sell side. They're able to, they have their own ad servers and okay, but CM360 will not be an ad server for I don't know an ad server's name for the sell side. It could be Google Ads Manager, it could be anything, right? Yeah, actually, Google GAM. You'll hear people use the word GAM, but it's Google Ads Manager for sellers. So GAM can be an ad server. So let's say new store opening served on, I don't know, Cosmopolitan newsletter, right? So Cosmopolitan is selling his inventory and using ad servers. So Cosmos ad ops team, they call it ad ops, will log into ad server like GAM and say, hey GAM, I have like 5 websites where you can place 5 empty banners of these sizes, and then they'll manually enter it and they'll deploy it. It's just like those people on the sell side over here are creating that empty space using the ad server. And because they're using an ad server, then they can also track if that space is filled. That's why if you continue watching or in the SSP or something, you'll hear them say the fill rate of X amount of ads. It's how Cosmo gets money from from us advertisers. If you fill the space, we pay Cosmo some coins. That's a simplified version. So the ad servers, okay, which have the same name, has different roles depending on who is utilizing it. So on the buy side, our role is to upload our creative message, use it as a tracking system so that when we upload those tags, you'll hear the word tags. When we use a DSP, we're able to track it. So some of the exercise that you're going to do in the next, I think it's next week, actually, we're going to upload some creative into the DSP. You'll see that you can upload like an image, like an actual image, or you can upload like a bunch of code, like copy paste, and it'll render into an image once it's uploaded. And so the coding that you'll see, that other type of creative, is an ad server creative, okay? And so that's how, in the exchange, in the bridge, that's how the DSP communicates to that SSP, and that's how things are placed. There's this one exercise, let me find it. There's like it. So far, so good. I know I'm going over a little bit of stuff here, but you can cut me off and ask questions now. I'm looking up something real quick to make sure that I got it. Is it an S1? No, it's module 2. Okay, so module 2, you go over the ecosystem, the ad exchanges, the SSP. Okay. Brand safety, where is, let me look at something here. Sorry. So this bar is the ad exchange, okay? So the bridge that connects SSP and DSP, by the way. Okay, so this is the example I've used. All right. Let me see. I guess we're just missing, the only thing we would be missing would be a ad exchange, which is the bridge. Now here's the thing, right? This is like the extended version. Well, the simplified extended version, I would say. Some DSP offers, not some, almost every single DSP also plays the role of an ad server. Same thing with ad exchanges and SSPs. Almost each of them have the ability to connect the same way an ad server would, okay? So for instance, in the Trade Desk, you can upload creative directly into the Trade Desk without an ad server. You can track website traffic, app traffic, things like that without an ad server. So you can do the same thing of what an ad server can offer you inside the Trade Desk. The only thing is that the reason why you might be asking yourself, what's the purpose of the ad server then is just sometimes in the case of, let's say, CM360, it's a Google product. So Google has DV360 as a DSP. Google has its own DSP. It has its own search. It has its own Google Analytics. It has, its own everything. So I've worked for clients that use CM360 as an ad server, and their DSP was DV360, where they bought Programmatic. Let me call it PRG. And then they had like this other platform here where they bought search. And because it's not Programmatic, it's something else. It was SA360, so search 360, and this is search, like search advertising, search ads. And then they had another platform right here where they tracked Google Analytics. Have y'all heard of Google Analytics before?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you know what Google, and then they had Google GA360. Is that GA360 or GA something? I don't know anymore. I don't know the names of the latest. So that one client had bought programmatic ads via DV360. They bought search via SA360, and then they were able to track their website traffic via Google Analytics, right? And so having CM360 connected all three of these very easily into one view, okay? And the way they did that is because everything was connected, but also they used those tracking tags in all of those campaigns. And so the benefit of using an ad server outside of your DSP's capability of ad serving is you can really connect holistically all of your media effort, because programmatic is one of the ad channels, right? Search, social, you name it. There's a lot of marketing and ad.
So let me just ask a question. Explain to me what's the difference with a search ad. What exactly is that?
So the search ad, I wonder if I can share. Sharing your screen flows. Do you want to continue for everyone? Okay. The search ad is when you go on google.com and you click what is the latest thing you search, if it's okay to share with the rest of the team. Do you remember the last thing you were looking for?
Oh, no, really.
The last thing I was looking for is cupcakes for my daughter, right? So I clicked on cupcakes, and then I remember nothing but.
Oh, and then the sponsored ads would show up?
Yes, and so there's text ads that show up, paid ads, they call paid text ads. And so you'll say ads, maybe the top 5 slots are ads, and then under those 5 slots, up to 5. Sometimes it's just 1, sometimes it's just 3, depending on your keyword search. And then right after those 5 slots, it'll have like the organic results, which is not paid.
Right.
And so the organic results are usually what people click on, unless the paid ad is more helpful. And so the difference between a search ad is just you Googled based on a keyword, and the ad comes off as text, but only available via Google and Microsoft, maybe, right? And then programmatic is just that image everywhere else, or the video, or the whatever. Okay. So that's why when you hear SA360 is just search ads 360. So Google has the programmatic platform, they have a search platform, they have a website platform, and on the sell side, they have GAM, they have all of those other platforms that I'm actually not as familiar with. And so, Google is the monopoly. That's why they're called walled garden. You'll hear the word walled garden because Google pretty much has a lot of everywhere. Does that make sense? So now, do you understand ad servers a little bit better?
Yes.
What about you, Kaylee? Do you have any question about that?
No, that makes sense. It kind of leads me to look at what you have in the lesson about ad impressions.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm trying to find my page. I guess just because it is that like 100 milliseconds to get the decision made, almost like with whatever's preset within the DSP. I think the only thing I was kind of confused about is just like how it feeds back. Like, so you've got what's in the DSP is feeding out to the SSP. But in the diagram, there was arrows that was essentially how then the SSP is like feeding back into the DSP, if I'm describing it correctly.
Yeah, so let me pull that one up because that's a good question. Hi, I'm Ellen Parker, and if you're any busy, whether you're at home or at the office, and you're supposed to understand what is going on in the industry, including remembering what CDP, CMP, PMP, CD, and now CPM, CPC, CPA, CPAE, eCPA, eCPM, CP, SPO, CPO, COPAO. What was anyway? If you are that person, overwhelmed, most likely underappreciated, most likely overworked, you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks, you're having a lot of to correct a lot of human errors, this is for you. I am doing another reach and frequency programs. It is a 7 weeks accelerator program where we cover all fundamentals from conceptual to technical skills. What I mean by that is that this is for you if you're interested in understanding how activating media works. It's like how to set up in a DSP, how to optimize after setting up, how to look at your inventory, how to create your own SPO from a trader perspective, from a buyer's perspective, how to make sure that you know the difference between programmatic deals or curated deals, which one to use when. This is for you if you have any experience in programmatic trading from 0 to 3 or maybe 4, and you're trying to level up. Maybe you're in a situation where you were self-taught, okay? Which is half of us out there in the street. You're a self-starter and you really want to take more initiative. You really want to go for that promotion, or you really want to go for a little bit more responsibility, but you maybe lack the confidence or the competence to go after that. So that's exactly what we do in the program. Okay, can you see my screen? So you're referring to this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. That's actually a good point, because that shows you a little bit of where everybody is set up, right? So the life of impression is just your way of understanding, because you've moved from this view. Okay, so I give you both views. I gave you the buyer view, where you understand that the brands go through the ad server and the DSP, and the bridge is the ad exchange through the SSP, who may have an ad server to get placed into this. Basically, right? And then you get these data providers that just enhance, and like think of the data providers as Salt Bay. They just add some seasoning and some, sazon into the industry, and then they help us just make sure we're targeting as efficiency as possible. But you're moving from this view into like the view from the consumer. So whoever is seeing this ad, what happened before this ad was shown? And that's what we mean by the life of an ad impression. So the consumer, that's us over here, and we're logging into the website, right? So the publisher could be anyone that owns inventory. Like even if you have a blog, let's say Miranda has a blog and she's blogging and she has 1 million people reading her blog every month, she can monetize her own blog by adding a handful of ad spots in some of those blogs, right? And she becomes a publisher. And so you're a publisher if you're able to sell your inventory, whether it's app-based or whether it's site-based, whether it's newsletter-based, you name it. If it's a spot on the interweb, you can sell that. Make sense?
Yes.
So a publisher would just be, like I said, like I think I used BBC News or something. So see how it says pub ad server, because the publisher ad server is different than the buyer's ad server. So here, and actually I am working with a client that needs a person like a campaign manager, but on the sell side. So instead of you, let's say, setting up a campaign and buying the media so that the advertiser brand serve on the publisher, you do the opposite. You set up that inventory that needs to be placed, that empty inventory. And sometimes it looks exactly just like logging into CAM and manually inputting, like on my homepage, I can place 10 ads. 5 of those ads would be 300 by 250. 3 of those ads will be 728 by 90. And then the remaining of the ads can just be, I don't know, whatever it is. So at 320 by 50, which is mobile ads or whatnot. And so you manually do that, and you'll manage and monitor how much of those space are being filled and why not. And if it's not being filled fast enough, or there's a deficiency or something like a variance, you can reach out to your SSP and say like, hey, why am my inventory not selling anymore? Things like that. So you will be handling the pub ad server of things versus like a buyer or campaign manager would be on the other side, which is here. So that's the slight difference of the jobs. So when you're logging into your computer, you're seeing the ad, this is what happened. Like the publisher is saying, Kaylee, I'm just going to use you. The publisher is saying, Kaylee's logging in and she's looking for a vacation this summer in the West Coast, and she's a beer drinker. I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out there. And so we know that because the publisher have tracked you as a cookie. They don't know it's Kaylee. They just know like female between the age of, 25, 35, may live on the East Coast, love to drink beer because she signed up to Guinness newsletter. I don't know, something like that, right? And so the publisher sends this information to the pub, and the pub ad server sends it to the ad exchange. In the ad exchange, they do something called the cookie table, the exchange. Just know that this is the important step where all of the different ad exchanges in the industry, I only give you 3 here, but all of them are able to match the profile sent by the publisher to their internal database. Hear me out. For OpenX, Kaylee's profile, again, we don't know your name. Kaylee's profile might be female, 25, 35, XYZ. In Yahoo, you might be ABC. In AppNexus, you might be 123B, something like that. And so the exchange cookie table is simply just that. It's identifying your profile ID to match whatever is requested. And so that's what that's what the Trade Desk actually calls the cookie table, like the exchange of the cookie table exchange. I think there's another word for it too. I can't remember the word. Is it here? Oh no, okay, that's a waste. So once that happened, that's why the arrow goes up and down. It's like, oh, within that amount of seconds, which I think was 3 milliseconds, excuse me, it goes back to the ad exchange. And from the ad exchange, because all of those DSPs have access to ad exchanges within their DSP platform, where we know that, oh, well, we have Disney Vacation, right? Or JetBlue Vacation offering a special package to go to Disney on a beer tour. And so we're looking for an audience that wants to travel in the next 6 months and are beer lovers, right? Beer interests, beer enthusiasts, beer lovers, you name it. And so those DSP will look at this exchange call and say, hey, man, this is a perfect candidate. This is a perfect audience for my brand. And so the DSP will go ahead and try to bid on that. But in this DSP, let's say, okay, I represent Guinness, right? So obviously a beer, just want to sell their beer to anybody, whether you want to travel or not. But in DV360, my brand may be, what did I say? Like Delta Vacation, right? Like, so it's a vacation package I'm trying to sell you. But in a Delphic, it might just be Target, right? And Walmart, because Target and Walmart are trying to target everybody. And in AdLib, it might be a clothing brand that is looking to serve their summer collection for summer vacationers. You see what I mean? So even though Kaylee is just minding her business, just reading some news, she fits a certain data profile. And based on that data profile, because of your online behavior, you have a certain profile ID, and the way you are profiled by exchanges are different, right? Your ID is different because none of them communicate with each other. They're all competitors. And for DSPs, you may fit into different brands' needs. So again, I give the example of just the beer brand, and then the travel brand, and then the clothing brand, et cetera. So that's how programmatic, like, audience targeting works. And that's why it's important to understand this particular, this particular process, because now you'll know, like, oh, when you log into your DSP and you start setting up audiences, now you'll know why some segments you see specific, like car intenders with credit scores of 650 and below looking to purchase in the next. That's how you're able to get those type of segments that are kind of specific and creepy sometimes, because of all of these exchanges, the DSPs and the pubs putting that profile out here. Make sense? So if you have any question, just cut me off. It's cool. Okay, y'all?
No, you're good. That makes sense.
Okay, so now I'm
Yeah.
continuing into the next process of 55 milliseconds. And so at that point, the ad exchanger sent, because again, all those DSPs are competitors with each other, and they have access to all of the ad exchange that are competing against each other for the DSP bid, okay? Because the DSP is where the advertising budget is. And so if the Trade Desk wins a bid via Yahoo, Yahoo gets that coin, and Yahoo gets to pay the publisher and serve the publisher, okay? So it's almost like a lot of cooks in the kitchen, okay? And that's, I think we have SPO in one of the, I think we talk about SPO in one of the lessons. That's where SPO comes into play. I'm very big on demystifying and clarifying that messy shit that happens. But anyway, that's industry wise and not just us. Okay, so at that point, the exchanges can send the request like, hey, we have this audience available or this profile available. And then all of those DSPs are like, oh, bet. But at the DSP level, right, they're also going to do something close to a cookie table. So the ad exchange does a cookie table, and then the DSP does their own cookie table. Why? Because DSPs have direct partnership with data providers like, Axiom, True Signals. Remember, those are the Salt Bay people. Like, they enhance the, they gotta make it a big deal for us in terms of targeting. And so we have access to data providers and DMPs. Okay, that's the difference between the two. But each of the DSPs have their internal DMPs. Okay, but there are also third-party DMPs. I know, y'all. There's a lot of fucking acronyms in this industry. We love a good acronym of DMPs, DCSPs, pub ad servers. This is a mess. So at that point, the reason why there's a cookie table is because we have access to the data providers within our DSP, and the data provider profile Haley differently as well, right? Over here, you was 1, 2, 3, ABC, and XYZ. Over here with Axiom, it might be like ASC3. Experian, it might be like a long ass code. True Signal might just be like, I don't know, Bolt 365, something like that, right? And so these profiles are different. These profile IDs are different than these.
Is the information different?
And the what?
Is the information different?
Not always. Not always. Not always. I know. Nobody. I know. This is where in some of the lessons or in some presentation or in the industry, you'll hear the term fragmentation. You'll hear the phrases audience fragmentation, which refers to this. The industry is extremely fragmented because everybody profiles in their own way, and we can only do the matching at the ad exchange level. So this is where the matching happens. So when these audiences within the data providers that are separated from this exchange, they try to match it as best as possible. And based on that match, that's how we get served, or that's how we bid on things, okay? So, so let's say OpenX says Kaylee was ABC, right? And they profiled her as just female between 25 and 35, right? Over here, Axiom may have Kaylee as female to 25-35 as another ID number, but then they might have something else layered, like, oh, they're female, and we're sure they're female because they purchased this, versus the ID here might just be very, very, very general. So that's the very detail and the nuances between those audience segments and how they ID us. But most of the time it's close enough that you will be able to tell. I mean, I don't want to stress you out or get you worried here. There's a lot of data out there, yes. And there's a lot of fragmentation, yes. That's why when we get to module 4, displacement 5 is something. 5, we talk about behavioral targeting. So you'll understand a little bit of that process in details, and you'll understand why it's so important. But when we get to optimizing together, maybe in 2-3 weeks, you'll understand why I really put a lot of emphasis on data segment optimization. I have a video on YouTube for free. There's like training in the course. It's a big deal because of that audience fragmentation. And back in the days, we used to work with like 30 of the data providers for one behavior, really. But now you don't have to. Now you can be very, very selective and test 3 to 5 of those segments from different providers, and then decide moving forward if it's working for you or not. And so even though there's still some fragmentation between audiences and placement, even though, you know, cookies in the traditional way we know them are going to disappear, there are other ways for us to track that audience and target that audience. It's not going to be as easy, but it is going to be much more efficient eventually. So just remember that this process, when you hear cookie table, it's now in 2023, you'll hear things like streaming TV fragmentation, or CTV fragmentation, or OTT fragmentation, because in the CTV connected TV world, the same thing is happening. Okay, and I'll give you a quick brief of what that means. It means like when you want to purchase some inventory and place it on your Hulu, the way Hulu identify your audience is different than Roku, but Roku and Hulu, Roku is a device and Hulu is an app, right? So Hulu is an app, and then you have Prime, and then you have Netflix. So Netflix will profile Kaylee differently than Prime will. That is different from Hulu. That is different from the damn Roku, okay? From the device that is placing, that gives you access to some of those apps. You see what I mean? So when you hear the word fragmentation, just know that everybody is measuring something, and the measurement language is not the same. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that you have to be careful and not assume. Okay? So the word fragmentation, when you hear it in programmatic, that means something about audiences. So I'll finish this really quick. All right, where are we at? All right, so we've gone to the cookie table. We talked to the DMPs. We know that we're representing which brand were we representing here? Let's just say Delta Vacation Packages or something. And Delta is like, oh yeah, bet. I definitely want to serve Kaylee because our Disney package has a beer tour in August 2023. She'll be perfect, boom. And so this goes back to the ad exchange, because again, this is the bridge. Okay, in order to get to the publisher, this is the bridge. Well, right now, that's how it is, okay? So they'll go back, send their bid, Trade Desk send their bid at $3, DV360 at $4, Adelphic at $150. Let's say AdLib is at $375 bid. And then the ad exchange is selling it at $4. So whoever has the higher bid will win, which I don't even remember which one was it. I think it's DV360. I can't remember based on my example. And so DV360 wins the bid. The ad exchange is like, okay, well, DV360 was Target brand. So Target will now place the ad over here. And well, Adidas in the example will place the ad. Okay. So that's in a nutshell. I love the word nutshell. That's why it always cracks me up. I'm like, there's no such things. But that's a little bit of how things work out, and why in module 2, it is so important to go through all of this at once and really learn the differences, because you, like I said, in 3, you were going to talk about the different media buying. So you'll understand the difference between the open exchange, the open buying, the private deals, programmatic guaranteed and non-guaranteed. That's going to be in the next one. And so that's only like an hour and some change. So it's a little bit lightweight, but now we go from understanding who is involved to how the buy happens. And then in module 4, we understand the type of placement. So we can place an image, we can place a video, we can place a radio audio, we can place it on, like I said, a Roku channel, or we can place it on YouTube, or we can place it in digital out of home. So it'll be like the placement, like the what type. And then in 5, you'll be able to understand that, okay, how is all of them coming together into a strategy, into a media buy? So that's pretty much it. Was that good? Any
Yep.
questions?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, cool. I do want to say that there are 2 important things to know that may be different today from this process, but it's not well spread. And hear me out. The trade desk particularly has something called the open path. Okay, so the open path is this new tunnel, which will be very different, that is allowing some of their big brands to access publishers directly. Okay, so it would be something like Coca-Cola using the open path via the trade desk, bidding and placing inventory directly onto big publishers. Think of it like Washington Post and whatnot, right? The reason why I want to let you know about open path, and I actually have a few blog articles to talk about it and explain it in our newsletter and website now. It's because open path gets rid of the ad exchange, the ad servers, and even sometimes it will get rid of the data providers. So it's like a one clean shot. It's like, think of it as like a HOV lane directly to the publisher. So it'll be a bunch of skip. Open path will be somewhere over here, and then it'll be straight, like a straight different.
So wouldn't that be a problem for smaller brands?
Well, right now the trade desk calls it it's a test, right? So not everybody has access to open path. Trade desk is one of the only DSP, so on the buy side, that is offering something so direct for their advertisers. And publishers are really excited about it because it gives publishers more transparency. So hear me out when you hear me say transparency, is that we have something called the ad technology fee, or tax. Sometimes it's a tax. The way the DSP gets paid, the way everybody gets paid, to be honest, is that the DSP bids, right? Let's say that $5, but charges the brand $10. Okay, so we charge a brand $10. $3 stays within the DSP. $3 to $5 stays within the ad exchange. So now we're what? Let's say now we are at $4. Another
$6 or $8.
$6 or $8 left of the $10. $1 goes to the data provider, like the data, because we got to pay for the fee. And only $1 to $2 comes to the publisher. You see? But the brand paid $10. Okay, the brand paid $10. So the DSP got to eat. The data providers got to eat because they give us that data. The ad exchange is connecting everybody. They got to eat. But the publisher got to eat too, right? Because we place on there. But the publisher used to get 90% of that fee. Now they get less than 50%. And some of the publishers now are complaining their payments have dropped to 30% of that $10. Okay. So for a brand, it's fine as long as the brand understands how the ad tech tax works. But the reason why the trade desk is testing something like OpenPath is because they want the publisher to keep a little bit more money. They're going to keep a little bit more money too. Mm-hmm. And then it allows brands to be more, like almost more of a personalized partnership with that publisher. Okay, so when you look at the ad exchange definition, fundamentally, OpenPath is a supply vendor. It's an ad exchange, but the Trade Desk doesn't call it that. They're like, oh, we're just testing it. But everybody in the industry is like, but fam, so are you now a DSP and an SSP, right? Anyway, it's just like an exclusive HOV lane, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And so that's also why when you hear into SPO, and that's the second topic based on this, when you hear SPO and why SPO started, it's because publishers got to get desperate. They're like, yo, I'm not only just going to work with AppNexus, because AppNexus only pay me $2 out of the $10. I should have at least $5, right? Now I'm going to work with AppNexus, Yahoo, OpenX, Google, all of these. Okay, so all of these exchanges have access to the same inventory. And so all of these exchanges are making multiple bids, demands from this publisher, and it became really messy.